sales is the most lucrative skill in the world, period. The problem is most sales advice out there today is outdated, cheesy, and can even keep you from getting the deals that can make all the difference in your career. This is the No BS Sales School, a podcast for entrepreneurs and salespeople who want to master the skill of selling without all the BS. As many of you know, I have the gift of ADHD. If you hadn't heard me say that, you could probably guess that. I think a lot of people in sales, also have ADHD. People laugh about it, ask them about it from time to time. It's none of my business, but I feel like ADHD is a real gift. It is for me, but it wasn't a gift before I knew what it was, and it wasn't a gift before I figured out, how to manage it. And so I was diagnosed with ADHD about 15 years ago. I was 41 at the time. And it's kind of a funny story, I think. My son went to psychological evaluation to figure out why he couldn't sit still in school. And I'd never really thought much about ADHD. And the doctor came to, sat down with Sally and me and said, I need to tell you your son has, ADHD. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? And she said, well, he fidgets, his brain's running 1,000 miles an hour all the time. He can't, has some impulse control, and, his brain is just churning and churning and churning ideas. I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And we finished the meeting, with Sally and I poor little child, he wasn't perfect. And so it was kind of an upsetting thing. And, but after the meeting, Sally came in and she goes, what in the hell is wrong with you? I said, what do you mean? She said, during the meeting, you played with a pencil, you got up to get water twice, you kept interrupting. What the hell's wrong with you? And I was like, were you in the same damn meeting where I was? Where the hell do you think Walker got ADHD? He got it from me, right? And so that was when I self-diagnosed, like, holy shit, this is me. And this is why he's dealing with that. So I went to my doctor, I went to a psych that I grew up with, and, we did an evaluation, and he gave the words that you don't really want to hear your doctor say. I did a test, and he goes, holy shit, right? Holy shit. I was like, what? He goes, whew, boy, you got no executive function whatsoever. I said, what the hell does that mean? He goes, organizing things, putting things in order, working diligently and slowly on things. He goes, that's not you. I said, no shit, pal. And he said, it doesn't have to be that way. He said, like, we talked about how that impacted me. And, really, I'm kind of a mess. I interrupted conversations. I wasn't very good at listening. My desk was a mess. I never had much organization in my life. And my buddy said, hey, listen, there's some different things you can do to kind of get this under control and make this ADHD thing a gift for you. Part of that was there was some behavioral modification, but also he put me on some meds, right? And over time, I've been on, I don't know, maybe half a dozen, maybe a dozen different kinds of meds for ADHD. And some work for a time and then don't, or when I, gain weight or lose weight, things become less or more effective. But the reality is, I've got this thing, and I just picture my brain. I've used this, and I don't mean this in an arrogant way. I picture my brain like a Ferrari, meaning it is fast and wild. And if I can keep it tuned up and on the road, man, everybody wins. But as soon as I'm not paying attention, I'm not keeping it tuned up, I'm not focusing on how to be better at being me, or being a better focused version of me, then I run into a ditch. So, all that to say, little advice if you're wondering about ADHD, or if you've ever had it, or your children have had it. The advice that I would give to anybody is, if you think you have ADHD and you don't give a shit, don't worry about it, right? But if you feel like it's impacting your life, you're being less productive or whatever, go talk to your doctor. More importantly, I would say go talk to a psychiatrist, because a doctor's helpful. They'll hand you the same meds, whatever the drug rep says. But maybe to get a dig in a little bit deeper, there are specific medicines can help different specific things. And so what I have found, if you are currently taking, or your child's currently taking ADHD medicine, they say it does not make them feel good. And I hear this from my friends' kids, and also heard it from some of my friends. I will tell them, you're probably either not on the right medicine, or you're not taking the right dose. So keep that in mind. If you're taking ADHD medicine and it's the right dose and the right medicine, it should make you feel better, more in control. It makes me feel great, right? It makes me feel like, wow, I'm really on point. So I'll just say that to you. And I've been on the wrong dose before. I've been on the wrong meds before a number of times. But keep searching until you find the right one. And a psych will be better off to help you do that than just your plain GP. So you'll have more options and more knowledge that way, and also more access to the newer medicines, which are better than some of the older medicines. So I didn't just come on here to talk about pharmacology. There are two tools that I use on my day-to-day in my work life that have made a huge difference in how I stay focused. Right? So the things that I use, one of them is an app that I think is worth 100 times what I pay for it. And it's called SaneBox. Maybe you've heard of SaneBox before. I am overwhelmed by email. When I open up my email box and I have 200 emails, or I have 75 emails or 45 emails, it makes my stomach drop, right? It makes me sick to my stomach. And I feel like, oh my God, how can I even get through this? How does this even make sense? Where do I even start? It's very depressing, right? I just don't like it. So I found this product and I used it for a number of years and it worked great. Right? It's called SaneBox. And what SaneBox does, it uses artificial intelligence, AI, like everybody's talking about these days, to pick and choose which emails go to your inbox. Right? It looks at your history of using email ever since you've been on the email, ever since you've been using whatever email you've been using, Gmail or Microsoft or whatever, works with all of them. And it looks at the history of how you've responded to other emails, and it helps divide them into a number of categories. It could be up to 10 categories. I just have 3 or 4. One is inbox, where your important messages go, right? Number 2 is called Sane Later, which are ones that are important, but you don't have to deal with them right now. Another is called Sane Black Box, Sane Black Hole. Right, which you put them in there so they never come in your inbox, and it just automatically, well, it doesn't automatically delete them, but it puts them there so you can look at them and say, yep, I don't need to look at any of these, and delete them. It also is easily trainable. You can pick an email and you say, whoops, this came into the later box. It needs to go always in my inbox. So you just pick it, drag it, drop it, and it works miraculously. I thought when I switched to Gmail that all those folders that I could use on Gmail would do the same thing. It was a major pain in the ass, and it never worked like I hoped it would. So I quit SaneBox for a while. I started with Gmail. I said, this is going to be much better, blah, blah, blah. It was a freaking disaster. And so I went back to SaneBox. It's $4 a month, maybe $4.99 a month. It's no money, right? And what I find, it gives you a ticker. It gives you a little thing that every month says how much time you've saved not having to screw with email that you shouldn't have been screwing with in the first place. And the greatest selling point I think they have is if you ever want to quit, just let them know, and they'll put your inbox right, or put your email right back the way it was before. No questions asked, no problems. Well, if there's not a better sales pitch than that, because holy shit, once you see how good your email can be organized with SaneBox, you won't ever want to be back that way. By the way, they're not a sponsor of my program. I'm not doing this because they paid me. I just think it's a great tool, and I rarely talk about the tools that I use here. So I thought that might be helpful to y'all. Anybody wants to find out more about SaneBox with me, you can go to sanebox.com. Or if you want to email me and say, hey, tell me about SaneBox, I bet your email will go to my inbox, if not my later box, and I'll get back to you pretty quickly. All right. Second tool I want to talk to you about. This is ADHD killer right here. It is a timer. I don't know if you can see this, but it's a round timer that I use, right? It goes from 0 to 90 minutes. And so what I can look and I can say, okay, I've got an appointment in about 30 minutes and I need to make sure I don't miss that. So I go and I press this button and I'll set the timer for whatever, 25 minutes. Right? Like that. I'll set it for 25 minutes and I'll press start and it will count down. And then it beeps and I go, holy shit, it's time for 5 minutes for my meeting. Better get ready. I know that sounds dumb to some of you. Why in the world would you want that? Here's the thing. I need that. It's so freaking easy and I don't forget shit as much anymore. This one is made by Avinia, AVINIA. INIA. I think it cost me $12. It's already saved me a fortune in stuff that, I get in my little zone and I get off working and I will miss meetings, classes, appointments if I don't use this. So I highly recommend. I got mine on from the Battlestar from Amazon. I'm sure you can find them other places too. But I use that timer all the time to tell me, okay, time to move on to something else. Or we're going to set the timer for 30 minutes. You're going to make prospecting calls. When it beeps, you get to stop. If you've got other tech stack things, that term is so freaking ridiculous. If you've got other tools that you use for ADHD to help you with that, I would love to know about them. And if you're hearing this right now, put in the chat or email me a tool that you're using right now that helps you manage your ADHD, helps you manage your day with ADHD. I'd love to know about it because, hell, I'll probably start using it. I'm Walker McKay with No BS Sales. You want to get stuff straight, make more money, live your life a better way when you're being your honest, true self, being direct and being vulnerable and being kind and making a lot more money. Pick up the phone and call me, 803-917-2817. Can't guarantee I can help you, but we'll have a real conversation. Maybe I can send you the right direction.
Thanks for listening to the No BS Sales School podcast. If you haven't already, please take 1 minute to write a quick review for the show. It really does make a huge difference. Also, subscribe to the show and please forward this episode to somebody else who needs to hear it. As a bonus for listening, I'm going to give you access to a free mini course, 7 expensive sales mistakes you're making and what you can do about it. Go to www.7salesmistakes.com and get access to the free mini course. That's the number 7salesmistakes.com. Thanks again for listening to the No BS Sales School podcast.